I'm pleasantly surprised, I think, with just the lay of how everything is operating. The track looks really nice, I feel like. Yeah, I'm excited about it. My laps and time in the sim, had a lot of fun running laps, and I thought the track actually had a nice flow to it, so that was cool. We'll see how that translates. It's been interesting watching these guys run. So, yeah, overall, I think from my end, super impressed. All the logistics and things that go into this stuff, and so I think props to NASCAR and all the people that put this place together and built the walls and built the fences and have done all the work over these last handful of weeks, because a lot went into it. We're all just kind of showing up here this weekend. There's a lot of work down there. So just excited to be here and hope we can put on a good show.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. When you watch the Xfinity cars on the track, et cetera, and walk in the track and what you've looked at so far, what appears to be the most challenging in your mind of this road course?
Very difficult to look and know versus be on the track and feel and see it, because what your eyes are seeing and how you're receiving the information when you're out there running is just different than it is when you're walking. So watching these cars run, the track content to me is really high in some areas, and it's really smooth in other areas. So finding that balance, I think, is going to be really important. It's obviously narrow in sections. I think that's going to be a hot topic of things to talk about. I do think it's going to be difficult to pass once everybody gets up to pace come race time. But, I hope that we're able to mix it up and do different things. But for me personally, I just making laps. I just want to go make laps and try to find a rhythm and go to work from there. So, yeah, really important. 50 minutes coming up, and then we roll right into qualifying. And I think qualifying well is going to be paramount to having a shot to win tomorrow.
And then when you look at the start of the race, you talked about mixing it up. When will folks mix it up? You think after practice and after qualifying, you'll know enough to be able to mix it up initially, or no?
Well, I think it totally depends on who you're around and where your strong suits of the track are, if you have any, and where the other person differs in front of you or behind you. So I think that can change from car to car or person to person. I think that's going to be different for every situation.
All right, Matt.
Matt Weaver, sportsnot.com. Having grown up at an era where, with your dad racing, that the schedule was pretty much the same every year. It was kind of set being what a NASCAR driver was, oval tracks, same places every year. Do you find it exciting at all to be in this era to where we're going dirt racing, we've gone street racing, all the different things we're doing? Is that exciting to you as a racer?
Yeah, I commend NASCAR for trying. I think a lot should be said for that, because for many years nothing was really changing, and it was working to a pretty large degree there for a long time, and that's great, that they didn't need to. But this leadership group at NASCAR has been, I've said this over the last few years. I feel like more has changed in the past 5 or 6 years, or at least in my time that I've been here, than it probably changed in the prior 15 or 20. So I think it is a good thing just from the standpoint that they're willing to try new things. What I think is really important, and I've said this before too, is you're going to have to look in the mirror some days and know and be willing to be honest with yourself that, hey, that didn't work, and we don't need to just keep beating that horse. So I think that coming and doing events like this are important for us to go try new things, and it may go great and it may not, and that's totally fine. I'm good with that either way, and I think the rest of the garage is too. We're all excited to be here, and we want to put on a good show, and I hope it goes well. But if it doesn't, that's fine too, and we tried, and we'll look for the next event or the next thing that we can go and do as an industry to switch it up. So yeah, I am excited to be a part of it. It's been fun, and I think this weekend has a lot of potential.
All right, Jeff.
Chase, you talked about, being impressed with the logistics and things like that and the layout. Obviously, any of us, there's some natural sort of skepticism when you're showing up for the first time here or like the LA Coliseum. But then to come here, like you said, and see like, wow, they pulled this off, at least you set it up. Does that give, drivers or people in the garage more faith in NASCAR moving forward when they're saying, hey, we might like to try other stuff somewhere else or try this in another city? I mean, when the more times you see stuff like this, are you guys like, okay, like, they're sort of building up some credibility with you guys?
Yeah, for sure. I think the Coliseum was a good thing to go try. I think it's probably run its course in my opinion. But I look at this event and I think this type of thing really has a lot of potential because, as I've said, in my opinion, I don't think you're not gonna get inside city limits aside from the fairgrounds ever again with the actual facility. So if you're gonna come to a city and race, this is gonna have to be how it happens. And I think the way that this was put together, and just me looking at the track and walking out there and seeing just the fab work on the walls and just how nice it is. I mean, that really speaks volumes to everyone involved, in my opinion, and I'm really impressed with that. So yeah, it gives me a ton of confidence going forward that if other cities are interested in having us, if things go well here, and it's received well, absolutely. I think that we can go and pull this off somewhere else too. I will say this part of the city is really nice for this type of course, right? We're not racing in between buildings. There's a big enough open space with roads to make it work, and we're not, driving in between two skyscrapers, right? So it's a little different, and it fits, I think, just this part of town very well.
Thank you.
Bob?
Bob Pockers, Fox Sports. I know it's hard with not having been on the track yet, but was there anything that you as drivers saw on the track walk that you potentially would ask NASCAR, hey, can you tweak for tomorrow?
No, I mean, again, haven't been out there yet. The only concerning thing that I saw was just the manhole covers. I know they had welded them, but there was a couple places that looked like the welds, whether it be from equipment running across them, like they need to be redone. And I think a couple of them are going to get really used up more than others. So I would look at that, right? Because if one of those things pops up a little bit, you're going to destroy something pretty bad. So, outside of that, no, there's not a lot of runoff room, which, would like to see that if you were to blow a corner or something. From experience, it'd be nice to have somewhere to go if you're not going to make it. But at the same time, I get it. They're out of space. Like, what do you do? So I totally understand that. So, yeah, I honestly didn't see a lot out there. So, hopefully everything stays together. There's a lot of transitions in between asphalt to concrete and vice versa. So, as long as those transitional patch areas stay together, I think it'll be totally fine.
All right, Lee?
Lee Spencer, Catch Fence. Kind of following up on that, were there any tire barriers or things that you anticipated being there or not anticipated being there that you saw compared to the sim?
No, the only section that really looked any different to me was, so it'd be like 4 and 5, whatever, the numbers are, the right before the long straightaway in the center of the track. That visually looks different, like where they had the wall placed on the game versus, here is just a little different visually. But outside of that, the visual representation and the track content and things, walking it looked really close. I'm curious to see how the bumps and stuff, if how different they are. But that was the only part of the track that I thought looked any different. I mean, the rest of it, they had, like on iRacing, they had the right sponsor signage in the right corners. Like, they had done a lot of work, and and I'm sure NASCAR uses them to help them make these places too, and they should, and that should go both ways to be able to replicate things over and over again, because they have such a really nice scan of the road.
Looking forward to next week, You had such a dominating performance at Atlanta a year ago, led 96 laps, won from the pole. What did it mean to have such a convincing performance at your home track?
Yeah, I mean that was a really nice weekend. Obviously, it I guess it's a little different than having like a dominant performance at not a speedway, but it is a speedway race. But we were really solid, and it's not like you're getting out to a 4 or 5 second lead. We just had a car that had the ability to be on offense all day, and when you're on offense and you can be that guy to make lanes move forward and make a difference and pushing somebody to the front. It just puts you in a different league, and it really puts you in a really, really nice position to have a good day. So certainly been on both sides of that fence. We've been on the other side of the fence since then with our Speedway program. So, I missed Atlanta the first time this year, but hopefully we can go back and, have a good run, again, like we did last year. But looking forward to it. I know a lot of the people around home are super excited about it being a night race and getting under the lights down there, I think, is a really big deal. So I'm looking forward to that next week. But I'm excited about this weekend first, and we'll enjoy next week when it gets here.
All right, we'll go to Reed and then Nate.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire. Based on your work on the sim, how wary do you think you'll have to be in turn 12, where the entrance to pit road is right around the corner and cars are going to be entering pit road basically from the racing line?
Yeah, I mean, the good news is it's a pretty sharp corner anyway. Obviously, coming to pit road makes it sharper, so you are going to have to be a little slower than you would normally. But, you're going pretty slow, even at speed, I feel like right there. So I think it'll be fine. I'm not sure how they're going to police that yellow line, because I could totally see you like needing a little bit of that room on exit. It's really tight right there. So I'm not sure if they're gonna penalize people for running over that or not. I haven't asked that question yet this weekend, but that was something I noticed in practice, where a lot of guys that went to make that turn pushed out, like not on purpose. They just pushed out. They need a little extra room to get to pit road. So hopefully there's a little leeway there, because I think the tighter they make that, the more issues you're going to cause, because you have to be slower. So if you had just a little bit of room to run the corner and get in there, I don't think it would stack everybody up so bad.
All right, Nate.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Chase, I want to ask about 3 areas. One, exiting the pits, you're like right in turn 1. So any concern there? There's been talk about turn 4. It's like barely wide enough for like a car length, I think, on the groove. And then I think it's turn 10. You're just going so fast coming, because that's the loop where you're going like that and then coming down that way. Just your thoughts on those 3 areas starting with the pits.
Yeah, I mean, good save. I haven't been out there. It's so hard. Not made a lap. Like I don't know. Running laps on the sim. Like I thought that for the setup through 3, 4, 5, the right before that straightaway we were talking about a second ago. I thought that was really fun, and it didn't seem that narrow to me on the iRacing thing. But it might be, in the car. It's certainly very rough. I think the content of the track, in my opinion, is a bigger deal than the width of it. The other section in 10, it was actually really fast on there. That quick, you're talking about the quick ride after the carousel. So, yeah, it was. I was surprised through the carousel today how much elevation there is. So you climb up to the center point of the carousel, and then it's really downhill before that quick right. So I was surprised by that, because I visually didn't see that in the sim. It kind of felt like it in the car, but I just didn't really understand why. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense a little bit more, but I just didn't see it, wasn't expecting that. But that section is fast, but it's really rough. Like after that quick right going into 11, it's really, really rough right there. And I think you're going to have to watch that and make sure you really time your braking well to to maximize and not get yourself in trouble, because that's obviously a really tight corner through 11.
What about the pit exit being right in front?
Oh yeah. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. It's off to the right. You know, they have you off as far to the right, and the corner wants you to be favoring way left. So, you know, you're just going to have to be watching. You know, if somebody's coming and they're obviously, you're likely going to watching these guys run. You know, you want all that runoff to the right. So, to me, the guy on track certainly is going to have the right of way, because you're going to get fenced if you try to fight that. So, you know, maybe, you know, I think the person that's coming at speed when we have those situations is going to recognize, and he's going to make a judgment call as to how far that guy is going to be next to him or in front or whatever, and then the guy coming off pit road is going to have to judge it as well. So I think once we do it a little bit, it'll be fine.
All right, we're going to go to Jordan.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. When you look at the schedule, 36 races, if you kind of were in charge, how would you lay it out in the balance between super speedways, intermediate, short tracks, road courses, street courses, in terms of what you would want it to look like?
Yeah, I mean, that's always a popular debate, right? You know, it seems like, you know, road racing was really cool because we only did it twice a year. Now we do it like a quarter of the season, you know. So I don't know what the balance is really, and I don't know what the right answer to that is. But I am a believer in less is more, and I think when you have really special events, I think it's because they happen once or twice a year. So I don't know what the balance would be, but I think less is more. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that would be my general approach if I were to be in charge, you know, of the schedule. And obviously things have changed a little bit. You know, our short track package hasn't been great, but our intermediate package has. So, you know, do you make that decision based on what the entertainment value is like because of the car, or do you make that decision based on the fact that I, you know, ran a lot of short tracks growing up? You know, I don't know, but I think less is more, and I'm not in charge of that, so I you know, I don't put a lot of thought into it.
All right, we're going to go to Jay, and then Mike Hembry, Dustin Long, and Daniel. Go ahead, Jay.
Hi, Chase. Jay Cohen with the Associated Press. Brad was in here yesterday and it's indicated that, like, Brad Keselowski indicated that they had received a more stronger response from his sponsors in interest in this trip and wanting to come here and stuff like that. Did you guys experience the same thing compared to, like, normal weeks on the circuit?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, a lot of times too, you can always tell when there's an exciting weekend coming up because, like, friends want to come to the race from around home. So, you know, but yes, you know, the thing for us is Hooters is on the car this weekend, and you know, when HMS did their race picks, you know, this was a race that they really wanted, and rightfully so. I think there is a lot of excitement around the weekend, and you know, I think the short answer is yeah, there has been a lot of interest, not just from partners, from friends, people around town asking me about it, you know, and that's going to continue throughout the whole weekend, and I think it'll be talked about, you know, for weeks to come too.
All right, Mike Hembry.
Mike Hembry, Auto Week. Chase, speaking of events, this has been described as much as an event as a race. Is it important from the driver's perspective that you look at that you're part of an event as opposed to a race? Is that in your head at all?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, they're all events, you know, at the end of the day. I mean, you know, this is all entertainment at some point, right? So yeah, I do think that it has been looked at like that, and I think that's good. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. And somebody asked me last weekend, well, what would make this a good show? I'm not sure that it means we have to have a last corner pass or they asked me what it would take to make this a successful race. And I don't think it has to be a last corner pass for the win. If that happens, great. You know, then yes, you know, somebody hit a home run. But I think if the environment is exciting, you know, everybody does their job off the racetrack, and it's a fun place to hang out, everybody here in town wants to be here. We make this the event here in Chicago this weekend. Whether the race is a great show or not, I think it'll be a success, and that's how I'm looking at it. So I have an extremely open mind coming into it, and I'm excited about it. Ready to get on track and see how it goes.
And to end here, I'm sorry we won't get to everyone with Kevin Harvick arriving, but we will end with Dustin. Go ahead, Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Chase, I was curious about what your thoughts about the restart zone coming before turn 12. And also, it sounds like talking to spotters, not really sure anybody can really see that vantage point and how you judge that. And look, if you're at the front, great, but if you're 5-6 rows deep and people start checking up, there's nobody to yell check up or anything. How do you address that situation?
Listen, you can't put that on your spotters. I mean, we're driving the cars, right? So at the end of the day, anytime you're in some of those situations, like, you have to make those decisions on your own. You can't ask those guys to call some of that stuff for you, because they can't anticipate some of the things that are going to happen. So I think that's totally on the drivers. And as it pertains to the restart zone, I wasn't in the race at COTA, but I watched it, and it was embarrassing to watch, for sure. Just strictly as a fan. I take my Napa hat off that day, and I just, as a fan, just me watching, that was not good. It was not a good look for anybody. And I think that falls on the drivers, personally. I mean, I think that falls on the drivers to make better decisions and not just run people over, getting in the corner. So, right, exactly. There's no penalty, but, I don't know what that fine line is, but I definitely think it's on the drivers to try and somehow find the right balance with that. And I don't know that we ever will, but I certainly don't want our events to look like that, because we're better than that. And there's some really talented drivers and teams here that we don't need our events to end in 15 cautions and overtimes and things, and a bunch of guys that had really strong runs going get spun out for no reason. So I don't know if that'll help this weekend. Again, I wasn't a part of that, but I hope it does, and I hope everybody just tries to find a little better balance somewhere in there. I don't know what it is or how it is, but I just hope there's a little better balance.